Okay, we are live. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. I am working on my Spanish, so thank you for indulging me. Let's get started here. Welcome, everyone. On behalf of Sierra Analytics North America, we appreciate your time this morning. Quick introductions. I am Freddie Haroon. I am part of the commercial enterprise sales team based in Dallas. And with me, I have my teammate, Carolina, who will be having this conversation with me about data governance today. Really quick, I just want to spend a little bit more time talking about our organization, not just the analytics piece, but the ERP as well. If we can move over to the next slide. So Sierra organization, we are a group that specializes in analytical solutions, Sierra Analytics North America. We have a commercial and technical presence with over 40 offices all over the world, a global footprint with a team of 9,000 professionals, along with a network of partners. As an organization, Sierra has expertise in everything from financial and operation planning. We partner with a number of system integrators, and we also have our own proprietary products team that develops innovative solutions for specific technical requirements for large enterprises in any sort of an enterprise environment you can think of. Quickly moving over to the next slide. Again, a little bit more about us as far as the data and analytics is concerned. We provide pretty much everything you can think of, everything from data to digital services. On the data side, it's business intelligence, data science, big data, data governance that we'll talk about today. And on the development side, it's a lot of microservices, architecture, integration, building and deploying data pipelines, building automation and doing those in an agile fashion, and pretty much either on a private or public cloud platform. So now we'll move over to the subject in hand this morning of data governance. So let's dive right in. Just want to spend a little bit of time talking about the history itself to set the table. The practice of data governance has been around since the 1960s. And the term itself, data governance, got coined in the 1980s, but it wasn't until the 2000s where it became a major initiative. As the volumes of data grew, as more and more data was being produced every minute, pretty much, there was a real need for not just awareness, but for some sort of a regulatory requirement from corporates and from the governing bodies as well to get a good handle on things. Data governance, as it's defined, is the practice to ensure high quality data throughout its life cycle, from data stewardship to data quality management to data security to ultimately data assets being created for consumption that are managed, treated, and utilized ethically. Simply put, it's taking measures to ensure your data is secure, private, accurate, available, and usable. And it also covers the actions the custodians of that data must take, the processes they must follow, along with the tech that they must deploy to support their efforts throughout the data lifecycle itself. I will now give the microphone to my teammate, Carol, who will tell us a little bit about some of the challenges companies face. Carol?
Thank you, Freddie. Today, many companies aspire to become data driven organizations, but along the way, to make informed decisions, we've identified several major barriers. Because creating data culture doesn't happen overnight, and the obstacles that arise have a direct impact on how organizations can achieve these digital transformations. So, one of the key factors we observed globally is that the explosion of data. Companies, organizations, institutions are generating more and more information than ever. And this data directly influences daily decisions. Managing this massive data growth is not always easy. We've always worked with one, two sets of informations that we trust, but now we are generating minute after minute tons of information. Um, we are also facing the challenge of the constantly changing our workforce. We have been seeing that all the time specialized roles are being created. So, for example, we have now data scientists, data engineers, data analysts, but at the same time, our users are expected to adapt to self-service data environments. So for this to happen, it's crucial that people can access the data in a simple and accurate way. So we have data that may be hard to find. We have specific and specialized rules that are changing all the time. But additionally, we have to always take a look at the regulatory landscape that is surrounding data constantly and that is evolving constantly. Laws that are related to privacy, to security, to compliance are becoming stricter, and organizations are facing the increasing pressure to comply with these regulations. Data residency, data retention requirements. For example, Instagram launched a probation where teens can be monitored there in that platform by their parents. So all that information must be available, must be in order for the parents, and must be securely provided by the platform. So only the parents can access it. So it's also the laws that are evolving are also hard to fulfill. So taking a look of all of these challenges, what what is the real challenge we see here with all of these points? We see that for many organizations, the data is either hard to find or hard to understand. So they may not know the full extent to which their data can be exploited, or even how to access it. Sometimes there's simply lack of trust in the data and makes it using even more difficult. We constantly face all these significant points, and these obstacles must be turned into challenges, and those challenges must be turned into strategic opportunities. The strategies should be evolving into a comprehensive and corporate strategy that must be centered around data and analytics. All of these contributes to making implementation and usage easier if we turn these challenges into opportunities. So to overcome these adversities, organizations need to be supported effectively so they can become data driven. So I will pass it on to Freddie to ask this question.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a very educational graph that we often come across, we experience when we are speaking with different organizations, because every company goes through its own journey. So we'll start off on the left side at the very bottom, inactive. So these are companies that we often run into that have not really dabbled into any sort of data governance initiatives yet. They understand some aspects of it, what governance entails. They understand the benefits, but they haven't really attempted to formulate a plan to tackle it in any sort of way. The data custodians in this category don't usually have the bandwidth to think about data governance in their day-to-day activities. They're usually just running from one fire to the next. And most folks here are just accumulating data and don't have any idea what to do with it or where to even begin. From there, we'll move on slightly to the right, and we'll come up to reactive data governance folks. So these are companies that have looked at governance, they understand it, but they've now made it an initiative to tackle it. The challenge these folks face is that when you are being reactive in any sort of situation, it's really about damage control. It's about meeting minimum standards when it comes to data governance, especially when it comes to meeting minimum standards of compliance. So usually you're dealing with data issues, problems. As and when issues arise, you're forced to dedicate a team of bodies of people and resources to resolve incidents that jeopardize the entire integrity of the system. And a lot of times these companies that adopt tools without any sort of a well thought out cohesive plan, ultimately leading to a fragmented tech stack, which subsequently results in a larger issue or larger issues and attrition. But at least they're on their way to becoming proactive, which is the next category we run into. So proactive data governance, very much an active implementation strategy. Companies that are proactive are not only complying with regulations, privacy, and security components, but they have made a tactical decision to be a step ahead of compliance in order to be more transparent and have good data stewards. Proactive governance is about a few things. It's about accountability, standardization, transparency, ethics compliance, and of course, security. And these folks, these proactive companies understand that quite well and prove it through their actions. And at the very top, we'll see optimized environments. So these are organizations that have established very clear policies, very clear roles, responsibilities for managing data across the organization. And that includes everything from having a data-centric culture where everyone understands the value of data as a strategic asset. They have very clear governance frameworks that define roles, responsibilities, policies. They also have really good data quality because they understand the prioritization of data and they eliminate inaccurate data that can lead to costly errors and misguided strategies. They have privacy and compliance. They stay vigilant with regulations. They also have a lot of collaboration through cross-functional collaboration between data teams and business units. And of course, data accessibility, where data is made accessible to both internal workforce and external clients, customers. In a optimized environment, what we often see is that you're just not fixing the data quality issues, but you're actively investing in finding new data sources. And you're scaling these practices to handle more data for machine learning initiatives. You're launching different data projects. You're experimenting with modeling. You're becoming a real-time data enterprise. And the feedback loop from those exercises allows you to focus a lot more on future investments and priorities. So in the next slide, we'll take a look at and expand a little bit more on the diagram. So this diagram is usually interactive, so I'll start over there. So again, this is what we come across in optimized environments. We'll start at the far left, where data lives in all kinds of different places. It could be database or flat files, or the list is right there. And that's data that's being generated in transactional systems from different business processes, pretty much any process you can think of, human resources, operational production processes. Then it starts moving slightly to the right into the ingestion layer, and then it makes its way into the middle where data governance process starts. The ultimate objective is to scrape all the accumulated data in a number of different kinds of tools to bring in to do some kind of analysis. So a lot of time is spent in the middle getting things into shape to make inferences. And it can be anything, really. It can be a web app, it can be an API, or it can be a part of some larger ETL workflow, something you're building towards to perform some kind of analysis and make some kind of decisions. And then finally, on the very right is when we will communicate that out to the world for the end user for consumption basis. Now, this entire cycle, even though it appears very simple, when you look at it in this illustration, it's actually quite complex because it requires you to string together independent technologies. So to move from the infrastructure side on the left all the way to the right into the eventual application scenario requires good data governance. And in the next slide, we'll take a look at the necessity and the ROI of governance. So next slide asks the main question, like, why is it important for data organizations to have a data governance strategy? The fact is that if you're looking at data governance as an exercise of risk, that wouldn't be the right approach. It's an exercise very much of an ROI. Companies with effective data management are not only managing risk, but they're also able to grow their business. So the question you have to start asking yourself is that what is it costing us not to do it correctly and not to have governance in place? Because a good CEO's insights or a good executive team's insights are purely driven by their understanding of the business metrics that can be measured in a quantitative form. But the answer to those questions they're looking for come from the quality and management of the data available, both financial and technical. And that's where data governance true value lies. And you can really realize its true ROI. You can witness it. We also know that in the last few years, there's been a huge surge in advanced analytics, pretty much from AI to LLMs. And as a result of these initiatives, they're a little bit more easily accomplishable, where there's good data, clean data processes in place, and a culture to make data-based decisions. Caro will now talk to us about some of the other components in the next slide.
In order to become an optimized company or even a proactive one, as Freddie told you a little bit earlier, companies need to build a culture that prioritizes decisions based on data, rather than relying on intuition, biases, or simply following market trends. Their success will be tied to navigating their digital transformation. So by doing so, you can drive your key business, financial, and operational targets with clarity to lead through effective change management and support the entire transformation process. So it's no surprise that in recent years, data governance has taken the lead as a priority for the CDOs. This priority is tied to developing strong data culture and literacy among those using the data. So you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points for the last year. So the thing is that we know that if the data isn't clean, isn't consistent, and well understood by those who use it, it will be hard to make informed decisions. And that's why democratizing data access and promoting self-service along with a strong analytics strategy are crucial for supporting data governance. Those will be the foundations for a good data governance implementation. The goal is that even as priorities may shift over time, a strong foundation in data governance will ensure the data remains reliable and capable of supporting the decision making. So this will allow companies to navigate their risks effectively. So if you think of creating your data literacy, your analytics strategy, and managing your data quality, you will successfully achieve your data governance strategy. So the question might be how can we help businesses overcome these obstacles and leverage the power of of becoming data driven and have a successful data governance implemented. We have developed our own methodology that is based on DAMA. DAMA is a standard that helps company implement data governance adapted. So we help you adapt this strategy, this methodology, not only to your internal processes, but also to the technological investments that you already may have in place. This will ensure that your data becomes solid and can help you achieve your objectives, your targets more quickly and efficiently. Our approach is based on 7 key phases. First, we carry out an initial assessment, giving us the complete view of both the business and the technology processes the companies have. So then we define the data governance structure. We want to tailor it to each company's needs, whether it's, for example, you need a centralized, federated, or hybrid model for your data governance, among other possibilities. In the next phases, we address the data quality management I just told you about to define clear policies and guidelines on to how create those policies. This is complemented by a focus on technological architecture, ensuring that the infrastructure will support this long-term strategy. Finally, we focus on change management. We know that a new strategy among a company is not just about technology, but cultural transformation within the company. So we guide people through this process, ensuring they adopt the new policies and procedures. And lastly, we ensure monitoring and continuous improvement is there so that this strategy is not only implemented, but it evolves along with the organization. So in summary, our methodology focuses on 3 main pillars: people, technology, and process, and ensures that your data is reliable, accessible, and useful for making strategic decisions that you can trust on, that you can count on, to help the company become more agile and effective in its journey to become a data-driven one. So in order to be more clear on how can we help you, I will pass it on to Freddie to show you how we can support you.
Well, thank you. Yes, the most important question of the day: how can we help? Zero. So yes, of course, when it comes to data governance, regardless of which stage you find yourself in, reactive, especially inactive, we can help with everything from crafting and deploying a framework, including bringing together, that means everyone from leadership to tech staff, support, and create a culture of data governance. We certainly can help with that. Some of the five components you see, these are some of the ones that we start off with, but we branch out into all kinds of different services and offerings. So I'll touch on those really quick here. Leadership and stakeholder engagements, we can help educate and secure commitments from the stakeholders, from the executive leadership. Sometimes a lot of complex scenarios need to be simplified for business case users because their focus is on a lot more on top line revenue. So we can go ahead and assist with that, bring departments together, understand and buy into the adoption process. We can certainly help with policy development, share with you industry standard with guidelines of comprehensive policies covering data quality, data security, compliance, regularly review and update policies to cater to individual needs. We can certainly help with the technology integration piece by simply making recommendations to leverage technology to automate data governance practices, such as lineage tracking, metadata management, integration of tools of data quality assessments, reportings, and also, of course, visualizations. Training and education. We can help foster a culture where data is treated as an enterprise asset to help educate staff on data governance practices and the importance of that. And of course, monitoring and evaluation. We can help lead, spearhead monitoring effectiveness, data governance initiatives using performance indicators, all kinds of different KPIs, and create a feedback loop to drive continuous improvements as well. Data governance is not without its challenges. Common issues are going to arise. Common issues will include resistance to change, data silos, and inadequate resources, but we have the skill set and the expertise. And of course, at Xero Analytics, we have experience with all kinds of data governance projects with all kinds of companies of different sizes. And we certainly would appreciate the next time you're asking yourself some of these questions, think of us, because we can help you discover some answers. I always like to close out every conversation using a quote from the Allstate Insurance commercial that we have all heard. We know a few things because we have seen a few things. And at Xero Analytics, at Xero North America, or Xero everywhere, we've seen quite a few things. So yes, please utilize our experience. We would certainly be very grateful for that. I will now open the forum for any questions anybody may have for myself or Carol. So there was a question I see here. Do we know of any examples of companies that are in optimized data management states? Off the top of my head, I would say some of the larger companies that deal with data like Facebook, Google, or AWS. I actually read a memo not long ago about Amazon that they first started looking at data governance back in 2006 because they recognized that the real power of Amazon and AWS also was not all the sales that the website was making, it was all the data that was being accumulated. Everything from your demographic data to pretty much your buying habits to behavioral economics to everything. And that's when they started structuring a lot of very large data sets to make pricing recommendations. Reviews, for example, product reviews were first started at Amazon. Now everybody has product reviews. So that would be a good example. Now, where are they? Because optimization, I believe, is an evolution. You're constantly optimizing something. You've never really done optimizing. So it would be very difficult for me to give you a firm example, but I would say some of those large companies and also some of the other smaller companies as well that we have seen that may be regional, not on the stock exchange. So yeah, there's quite a few examples of companies that have moved from inactive to reactive all the way to very close to optimization.
We have another question here, Freddie. You may want to answer it. How do you handle data governance in a cloud environment?
Yeah, so that's a good one. So in cloud environments, data governance certainly requires special attention when it comes to security and access control and compliance. Since we know more and more data is now moving to the cloud, what we see in our experience is that we have certainly the expertise and have experience in implementing a governance strategy that includes everything from encryption to strict access policies and regular audits to ensure compliance with data protection regulations, which certainly significantly minimizes the risk of data breaches. So yeah, that's one way we would approach it, but that's a very, very comprehensive
Yeah.
question, which like it's a very general answer to a general question, but that's going to require a lot more discussion. Okay, so here's one I have for you, Carol.
Okay.
How do you measure the success of a data governance initiative?
Oh, that's one that's been asked a lot in our meetings with clients. Okay, so you can track data quality, error rates. You can track metrics like adherence to standard, which data has been used in the last 6 months, the number of issues that got resolved. We have seen in a few clients that when they implement a data policy or a data governance policy that has been taken care of, that has been customized to their needs, they have seen like a 50% decrease in data quality issues, for example. So along with all their sale processes, for example, it has had like a direct impact, something like a 20% increase in their customer satisfaction, because they could be more accurate with their data reporting. So when they need to attend a client business or a client problem, they could, for example, had the responses more quickly. They knew how to address their issue and what were their needs, or maybe offer them their next best buy. So you can make sure to track metrics with a platform within the policy you're implementing and see a direct impact on your sales and your company growth as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Freddie. Well, I don't know if we have any more questions there.
Yes, one last one. Well, there's another one. How do you handle data breaches in data governance program? Going back to the first one, earlier one. So yeah, so when you take a look at handling data breaches in a governance program, a data governance program, a well-executed data governance program, there is certainly Sierra Analytics. Sierra has definitely a well-defined data breach response plan in place. That's always going to be there. And that plan includes steps for identifying and containing the breach. Not just that, but also notifying the affected parties and conducting a thorough investigation to determine the root cause of the breach. You can't really eliminate a problem unless you know the environment it came from and existed. Also, there's a plan to implement remediation steps to prevent similar breaches once we identify the cause from happening in the future. And also a regular review and update of the breach response plan to ensure it remains effective as we move forward. So again, it's a very comprehensive plan. It's going to depend on the sort of breach there is, and oftentimes there is discovery involved on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, there's certainly a number of different steps that can be taken and a very comprehensive scope document prepared and executed.
Okay, so if you want to know where to start, if you want to discuss with us any specific business case situation, if you want to discuss a little bit more about our plans, our methodologies, or if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to Freddie. Am I right, Freddie?
Yes, and or anyone. Yes, thank you all for joining us today. We are right on time. We are very grateful that you could be here with us this morning. Happy to help any way we can. Anytime, please reach out to me or Carol or anybody at Sierra, and we will be very glad to assist you. If nothing else, just to answer some questions at a time of your convenience and maybe even a location of your choosing. So thank you, folks. Have a great rest of the day, and we appreciate you and hope to see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.